So now bringing the Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross, Abbas Gullet. Sir, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Right. In December, we did talk about, there was a report of 1.3 million Kenyans facing acute food shortage. That figure has risen to 2 million. Is this going to keep rising? And can you paint for us a picture of how the situation is?
Well, so the story is that we had the previous long rains of 2016, March, April, May, that was not sufficient. It was then compounded by the short rains in October, November, December also failing. So we've gotten into now January, but the picture was that indeed it's true, by December we had 1.3 million Kenyans that needed assistance. Since then, the government has just now released the new figures of 2 million. The fact of the matter is, between now and the next rainy season, which is April or end of March or April, the dry spell will continue, and the prediction has been that it will be dry and there'll be no rains. So we are now getting into a proper El Nino now. it's La Nina, sorry. We're getting into a La Nina period, and the prediction being said also is that the long rainy season, March, April, May not all be that good. So it is a repeat of what we saw in 2011. So you'll have a full-blown La Nina that the government has been preparing with its partners, the UN, NGOs and other actors, to now decisively address this issue, because we don't want to get into the tipping point. What has been happening between September last year to now is where there has been response by the government and complementing, also getting efforts of support from NGOs, including the Red Cross, the UN and other actors.
All right. We'll talk about some of the interventions that the Kenya Red Cross maybe have planned and have worked so far in the country. But do you think as a country we have responded to this in the best way possible?
I think so, and what I think we should also realize is that in 2011, Kenya could easily get aid from the international community and from the donor community. Since 2011 to 2013, Kenya was now declared as a low middle-income country, which means we do not qualify for aid like other countries in the region.
Right.
So we'll have to fend for ourselves, the nation. And for me, people talk about government, and I always ask myself, who is the government? I'm government, you are government, we're all government one way or another. Government doesn't mean it's the executive and the legislative and the judiciary alone, but all of us as Kenyans. When crises arise like the current one, we all need to be prepared. We all need to chip in and help what we can in alleviating this suffering.
Right.
There's a serious drought now going on in the country. And if you look at especially the districts of the counties of the arid and semi-arid counties, which are almost 21 or 20, going to 23, we have serious problem. And the fact is, we all have to chip in. And as Kenya Red Cross, we've decided we will be involved, and we've been involved from day one.
We have seen a lot of comparisons to 2011. In 2011, there was the Kenyans for Kenya. Are we going to get there? What can be done as a country, to come together and address this?
So what I want to say, yes, the comparison is right. And because of the climate change and the reality we live in, you would find that every 3 to 5 years we had a mini drought, and every 5 years we now have a major drought. So this is not something a rocket science we couldn't tell. The prediction was there from ICPAC and the climate center that we have in this region. So certainly, if we don't act now decisively in January, in 2011, Kenya Red Cross launched an appeal in 2011 January, warning the country and the world that if we don't act now, by the time it gets to April, May, June, we'll be in full-blown crisis.
Yes.
So to avoid that now, is we're saying, if December it was 1.3, now it's 2 million. I'm sure in February, in March, the numbers are going to rise.
All right.
In 2011, we had 4.5 million Kenyans who needed assistance.
Yes. I want us to talk about the cash transfer project by the Kenya Red Cross. But before we do that, let's bring you in on our big question discussion tonight. We're asking you, do you think the drought should be declared a national disaster? What do you think? Text us your views, your yes or no opinion, plus a brief comment to our studio line 22155. You can also talk to us online on Twitter at Ben_Kitili, at KTN News, at KTN Kenya. The hashtag is KTN Prime. Right. Take us through that cash transfer project. How does it work, and has it worked so far in the places where you've tried it?
Yeah, cash transfer. Kenya is the home of M-Pesa. Kenya is home of money, mobile, telephonic or mobile money. And we've done this for the last 5-6 years. So it's not something that we are doing today. Right. We find cash transfer today is the way to do it. internationally, after World Humanitarian Summit in Istanbul last year, most of the international organizations, UN agencies, and many international NGOs, and including local ones here, we're saying to make it more appropriate, you don't give people food, and a food that they may not even have the firewood or the fuel to cook it. Give people cash, give them their dignity. You don't want them to queue up for hours and hours where women could be doing other things in their respective families. So cash transfers, we've done it. We are now in the current drought. We started doing this in Kilifi, in 2 areas of Kilifi, Bamba and Ganze. We are now doing in Kilifi, Kaloleni area. We have done the same thing in Marsabit in North Hor, which we're just seeing, and Laisamis, and now we're going to go to Moyale. We are going to also experiment food vouchers, which has been done elsewhere, where we go to vendors. You see, the best thing here, Ben, is that in the countryside, like we saw, some parts of Kenya may not have food, but the many other parts have excess food. Right. And the fact is, what people are lacking is purchasing power to purchase. So we're giving families 6,000 shillings in Kilifi, through M-Pesa, and by having assessed them, registered them with the local county government, with the central government participation and the community. Once they are registered, we transfer the money to them.
What about some parts of this country, like some parts of Marsabit, very vast country, where the people there depend on their livestock. The livestock, 50% have died. They expect to lose more. What is more practical for those ones?
So for those ones, what we have done with them, we're doing cash transfer. But for now, in this current situation, the best thing to help the pastoralist communities is to do animal destocking. The government has been doing that. Red Cross has been doing that. FAO has been training people. So there's been a lot of work put in this. I think the perception in this country that not enough is being done is not true. In the 1.3 million, by December, almost 1 million were being reached through government and other agencies' intervention. We as Kenya Red Cross took an appeal for 114,000 Kenyans in 6 counties. Yes. Of that, we have reached 53,000. Yes. Depending on the funding that we have, we'll be able to reach more. As the numbers go higher and higher, you know, people, we just all need to chip in. And time will come probably when we'll have to launch an appeal to ask for help. Right. But animal destocking now, restocking when the rains come so that they can have their meaningful life again and give them back dignity.
Final question for you, sir. The question we're asking our viewers, 2 million people the government says are facing starvation, but it's still not a national disaster. When will it become a national disaster?
I think for me, maybe we ask this question differently. Mm-hmm. There are Kenyans who need assistance today, and the government is doing a lot in helping these people. I'm saying Red Cross, UN, ordinary Kenyans, like we did in 2011, we all can come in and help and complement the government's effort to reach Kenyans that need our assistance today so they don't get into the tipping point. Because if we allow them to be in the tipping point, in June, in July, in August, in September this year, then we will see malnutrition and people who are actually going to die.
Thank you, sir.
Abbas, thank you for having
always
me.
A pleasure talking to you, the Secretary General of the Kenya Red Cross, Abbas Gullet, on the current situation, the drought that has been ravaging many parts of this country. In other